the Sustainability Management Master's Program, you're answering one simple question. Do you care about your future generation? If you care about your kids, their grandkids, then you care about sustainability. And a sustainability manager is someone who has the tools to make people understand how they can contribute towards developing a sustainable world. We have both part-time and full-time students. Our curriculum is 30 hours. Instead of thesis, we have a research project course and a seminar course which provides them with the kind of research background they will need to be successful in their job. But at the same time, sustainability is not always everything about environment. It also relates to the business. They will take a sustainable business strategies course. They will take a project management course. Most of these courses are going to be taught by industry people, the people who are doing sustainability on a daily basis as a part of their job. Any organization that has a large number of employees and has a physical infrastructure, they will have to have a sustainability office. If you have the passion to develop and maintain a sustainable world, come to us and we will help you shape your passion into a career which will create an impact.
Michael is a Stevens alumnus. Michael is the president of ESG News Corporation, a leading provider of environmental, social, and governance news and information. Pretty much one of a kind at this time. He is overseeing the platform's global expansion. Previously, he was head of the Americas business at the Associated Press. Earlier, he held leadership roles at NBC Corporate, NBC News, and the Weather Channel. Michael was a corporate CIO at Ascendant Financial and a former consultant at Accenture. Michael holds an MBA from Columbia University, a MLA in journalism from Harvard, a BE in mechanical engineering, and a BA in English and American literature from Stevens. Quite a few degrees. So today, Michael is going to talk about ESG news. Welcome, Michael.
Great, thanks, Tibbs. Appreciate it. First off, just thanks everyone for coming tonight to learn more about ESG News Corporation and how we are thinking about sustainability worldwide. My goal tonight is to give you some high-level thoughts on why we developed the business, some of the challenges in the marketplace, some solutions, and we've really achieved global recognition within 4 years. Our brand has just become known around the world, and it's pretty amazing when you think about how difficult it is to build a brand. In my position today as president of ESG News, I'm thinking about trillions of dollars that have been committed to the global energy transition and everything that goes along with that. Where is this money? Where is it going? How's it being invested? What kind of jobs are being created? How companies are organizing? What part of this is political? What part is really part of Generation Z's thinking? How do we report on it independently without fear or favor, as we say in journalism? And just a short time, ESG News has become the #1 news provider of sustainability news and information in the world. One disclaimer tonight, I'll talk about a few statistics, but the energy transition is happening so fast right now that I'm finding many conflicting reports. And if I take my technology hat on, my news hat on, it's hard to sort of confirm some of these facts, but I'll give you sort of a broad stroke. And if you try to fact check me, you might find better data on jobs that we haven't found. And then the other thing is there's a lot of intellectual property on our platform. I'm not going to talk about all of it because there's some things that are going to be released in the next quarter. But if you follow us on ESG News, you'll see those things as they launch. Before we get started, I just want to acknowledge the sponsors of the Stevens Sustainability Series. It's always important that everyone gets support, and we appreciate the interest and the commitment to furthering academic and business activities. I did go to Stevens undergraduate, and I thought I would just give you a little story before we get started. My time at Stevens was extraordinary, and one of the reasons I was lured to Stevens it was at least advertised at the time as the first fully networked dormitory in the nation, ahead of MIT even. And I saw these computers everywhere. And my family, we couldn't afford a computer, and I really wanted one. So I really wanted to go to Stevens to get a computer. But these decks were huge. They were enormous. They were, I don't know, 3 feet wide by 2 feet. And they were in every dorm room, and that was really exciting. I got really lucky because the year I went, they upgraded to an IBM clone computer. And this had a 5.25-inch floppy drive. If you had 2 floppy drives, it was a really big deal. So that's probably not that exciting to all of you, but at the time it was really exciting to me. And I think there was one person in Davis Hall that had a dot matrix printer. And if you had a dot matrix printer at the time, you had a lot of friends pretty quickly. So I'll talk now about our business. And I say to people, something happened while we were all sleeping. And this is what I'm talking about with the data. There's an estimated $30 to $50 trillion that's been committed around the world to the energy transition. And this doesn't come from any one source. It's a mix of sources, governments, corporations, financial institution, NGOs. This transition involves everything from fossil fuels to renewable energy sources to improving efficiency, investing in new technologies. It's a complicated industry on one end, down to how it impacts your household. So these figures I've seen reported, BCG is reporting 37 trillion will need to be invested by 2030. There's a lot of other reports. Treasury Secretary is reporting 78 trillion by 2050. So I don't have an exact number, but trillion's a lot of money. So there's a lot of interest and a lot of commitment to this transition. And basically, we are following the money, we are following the deal flow, and trying to understand how corporations are working together with governments, and what are their initiatives, and what are their projects, and where the focus is. ESG News Corporation was formed just 4 years ago. As I said, we're already the #1 news and information network for ESG-related topics, sustainability topics, finance. Our mission is to inform the world and deliver accurate and unbiased information and foster meaningful connections and conversations. We want to build trust on our platform. Trust is really important to us, engagement. And we feel we're in the midst of creating the most valuable, what I call forward-thinking, advanced professional network in the industry. We really want to connect executives, thought leaders, and highlight impactful initiatives, highlight deal flow, amplify voices on the platform, and really build something unique that hasn't really been done before. I want to talk about this right away because before I get too far down the line, folks might be wondering, well, when we do cover news and information around the industry, what is our editorial position? Because you might think, well, just by your very nature, you're very progressive, or you're left, or you're right. Well, we actually look at it more along the lines of a traditional news organization. And what I mean by that is this is happening. This is happening around the world. This is a major event. People are investing a lot of money in it. And we don't want to take it one way or the other. And so we're right down the middle. We're covering it very traditionally. It is a skill set to write down the middle. I can't tell you how many times we see bias in articles, and we have to keep editing until we can sort of get to the root of what we want to do, which is provide information, and the best information possible for people to understand. We don't want to comment on what we think about the internal combustion engine. I'm a mechanical engineer. initial early training. So, Professor Cole was the best at Stevens teaching how the internal combustion engine worked, but we can't replace every car on the planet. So we're not going to go out and tell the world that we need to replace every car. But what we are going to do is we're going to look at improvements in fossil fuels, improvements, in the oil industry. We're going to look at electric cars. We're going to look at the batteries, which have their own issues, and really try to come up with balanced views on these things and present the information as we uncover it. We're not going to tell you what to believe in energy policy. We're not going to tell you who to vote for. We'll talk about energy policy on both sides, try to decipher it. I don't know if anyone's looked at energy policy in the US, but it's really complicated and it's really long, and it's not that easy. And I don't think it's that it's too simplistic to sit back and say, well, one policy is just this or one policy is just that. You really dig into it, it gets really interesting really fast. But if you're a multinational corporation and you want to understand what's going on with policy, we want to be the place to come. And we're also working with a lot of software companies who are analyzing risk and analyzing policy around the world. So we want to be at the center, and we think it's a privilege to be there, and it's a privilege to be in this position and bring news and information to the world. We want to report impartial, accurately, honestly. We want to follow this worldwide developing story. I mean, it's a global story. It's a local story because sustainability is different in every country. There's 14 countries right now that have mandated policy. That in and of itself is enormous to cover. There's multiple perspectives, multiple points of view. We don't want to be polarizing. We want to be very professional, have fairness, give folks equal time. So that really is a news and data and information organization that has high standards and ethics. We avoid hyperbole, polarizing tactics, and we want to ensure that we report all of our sources when we can. So that's really important to us as an organization, because we really want the world to know that we are doing our best to cover this as it's happening, and we'll maintain that center viewpoint in what we do. Right now, if you go to esgnews.com, you'll see that this is from yesterday. We're covering stories around the world, and this is really focused media right now. We do want to broaden it out, but right now it's business, finance, news, and topics of sustainability. And we really want this to be a digital center for news and information. There's really complicated topics like trading carbon futures, carbon exchanges, different products that are being developed. There's so much software development going on right now. We even have a hard time keeping track of which software does what for which company and what purpose. So there's a lot going on there. We do think that there will be a broader audience as we continue on in the life cycle of the business, and there will be different levels of coverage. So you've got sustainability, but very quickly the topic of sustainable travel, sustainable lifestyle, how you run your household. These topics are going to be more and more interesting. And I even found yesterday on Psychology Today, there are criteria for dating for sustainability. So picking a partner based on their interests in sustainability around the world. Maybe you don't want to be with somebody who doesn't recycle, but my point is there's really just so much to cover. And I think there's not a shortage of news and information on this topic. The Chief Sustainability Officer. This is definitely one of our main audiences. We've got CEOs, we've got CFOs, we've got senior leaders, institutional investors. We've got a pretty incredible list of subscribers on the platform. but if you think about it, in the last 24 months, the number of chief sustainability officers that have been appointed has increased. And, it does reflect the growing interest on sustainability across public companies. Again, conflicting reports, but nearly 200 companies last year appointed a CSO, compared to 30 the year before. So this is a dramatic rise, and many of the CSOs report right to the CEO now. It's part of the agenda of the Office of the CEO, part of the core leadership team. And I think this growth reflects the increasing pressure from investors, regulatory bodies for companies to address environmental, social, and governance concerns, and really incorporate sustainability into core strategies. We just got back from Climate Week in New York City. We were one of the media partners, really the main media partner for the Nest Climate Campus at the Javits Center. This is something else we do. We're not trying to be clear, a purely focused event company. This is just another way in which we engage with the community. And we found that covering the major events around the world, COP29 in November, Abu Dhabi Finance Week, these are really important events to be at. And what we're finding is that there isn't really a network that is able to be trusted and convene this group the way we have been able to do it. We were, again, one of the main media partners at Javits for Climate Week. Our coverage of this event, I think, was the best we have had in the history of our events. We had lines of people waiting to be interviewed and looking to engage with us and have us cover them. The topics were really interesting, everything from regenerative farming to energy policy, to risk analysis, carbon credits. And really what we took away from this conference is that we've built the trust of the community. We had the chief sustainability officer from General Motors in our pod doing interviews. We had Siemens North America. So really just quite an impressive list of people that are really starting to trust our brand and trust our distribution and what we're all about. I would say coming out of Climate Week last week, there's a very palatable sense in everything we heard and in all our stories that there's an incredible amount of money being invested all over the world in projects and trading platforms. Global ESG assets now are over $30 trillion and on track to surpass 40 trillion by 2030. And put another way, ESG assets around the world are over 25% of $140 trillion in assets under management. So it's a big number, and as I said before, there doesn't seem to be anything stopping this train from the way it's moving. Jobs. Here's another data point I could use help on from the students, because I've seen 3 different reports. I've seen a Deloitte report that talks about 100 million jobs in the next 5 to 10 years. I've seen an economist report. I've seen a Time report. I've seen reports as much as there will be 300 million green jobs created. The reality is we don't know. We don't have an exact number. We do know that the good news here is there will be a lot of jobs. We are seeing a lot of jobs being created. We are seeing a lot of jobs being transitioned or transformed. The interesting part about this is that while there's optimism, there's also a little bit of pessimism that in order to create all of these jobs, there's going to be a whole new set of skills. Everybody at Stevens, that's getting trained in sustainability, those skills are going to be in high demand. There's going to be incentives to hire the right staff. training, education to attract and keep these skill sets. This is an enormous transition that we're seeing, and it's pretty exciting to watch. We look at the number of jobs, but we also look at the generations, and really, this is going to impact everybody in the workforce. But I like to think about Gen Z and then the nearly 3 billion people of 8 billion on the planet, almost 37% of the global population, and $400 billion in spending power. There's almost 2 billion millennials on the planet. And if you just looked at Gen Z and millennials, I mean, that's half the planet right now. And, they think a little bit differently. They're a more socially conscious generation, prioritizing sustainability, prioritizing social responsibility, interested in commercialization, but we're seeing a big movement in public companies from solely financially focused bottom line to what's being referred to as a holistic bottom line. You've heard the triple bottom line. I also see the holistic bottom line. And that's a real thing. It is a real thing. It is happening. And in the investment community is seeing the retail investor, the institutional investors that want to put a certain amount of their investment into sustainable finance or sustainable investment. So that's a transition. It's a cultural transition as much as anything else within a company. Just understanding what that means and how to service those customers that are requesting that is a change for a lot of financial institutions. As I said, I believe this is a worldwide event. The reason ESG News was created was we believe this is a true multi-dimensional challenge in the marketplace. The market, as we see it right now, is decentralized and fragmented from a communication standpoint, from an alignment standpoint. There's polarization in the news networks. There's cluttered social media platforms. There's a lack of trust across the ESG community. And it sort of leaves the community without a reliable and objective focused platform. So that's kind of where we come in. We want to solve the information trust crisis, the inaccurate reporting, greenwashing, things that are, not necessarily eroding the credibility of ESG, but we need to be able to report on those things, the good and the bad, and really solve that trust crisis. Cultural transition is part of this. Companies are redesigning their orgs around part of this, their communications, their business practices, how they talk to stakeholders, how they talk to employees, how they talk to consumers. And there's not as much market support as there has been traditionally. We have labor growth that is growing exponentially, and we have a transition that is occurring within small to medium-sized enterprises. So you've got all this kind of going on. You've got a bit of a, it's not so much a leadership vacuum, but it's organizations that are figuring out how to accommodate their workforce and talk to their workforce about sustainability, and knowing that there can be conflicting views within corporations on what these things mean, but also understanding that this is evolving on a daily basis. So we're not just a news website. We are building a platform. The platform is built, it is deployed. We have a number of different things launching in the next few months, including an advanced professional network, e-commerce, just a number of different things that will service the industry. So we want to be that trusted information source, and we really want to be a community that services the marketplace and also sort of bridges the generational gap in understanding and cater to seasoned professionals as well as down the line to your personal network and your personal lifestyle. I think this is a really incredible time for business, and historically, I can't really recall a time when governments and business, in my career at least, have worked together in quite this way. And what we found is that being open to partnerships around the world is really important, and partnerships that previously wouldn't have existed. But we're seeing corporations and NGOs and governments align where they wouldn't have aligned before. And yes, there's commercialization going on and there's money to be made, but there's also just incredible partnerships that we've seen come out of this. We were in Rome at a historic summit at the Vatican. It wasn't a religious endeavor, but it was more about bringing academics, governments, corporations together. We were there as a participant in the event. It's called Humanity 2.0, and they invite 70 people from around the world to participate. But again, just an incredible merging of all of these different groups that I think we're trying to figure out not only how to address the sustainable development goals, but just how to work together and align on impacts and align on initiatives to really improve humanity. So these kinds of things are happening around the world and just creating new and different strategic relationships that really haven't existed before. So I'd like to think we're reimagining media and business with our platform. You'll see a part of our platform with esgnews.com. We are heavily invested in artificial intelligence and trying to figure out the best application of that on our platform. Right now, we're using it for information, but we've got several other applications of how we want to use that to create information that is informative and productive, create a place to go to research and uncover insights. We are primarily engaging the business community right now. The broader community and population will come after that. And then we have a marketplace that is part of our platform as well. So this is a platform. It's a way to think about news and information in a different way, and how it can service both businesses and individuals in a productive way. The next step in our business is to really scale around the world. We've got offices in Africa, in the Middle East, in London, Rome, the US, and we're looking at scaling into a number of other offices over the next 6 months. And then the challenge there will be to how do we create that interconnected network that helps you understand what's going on in other parts of the world. The things that we've seen, for example, in Turkey, Egypt, all different areas of the world are applicable to different kinds of projects that are happening in the US. And so the connectivity and bringing those things together is what we're trying to bring to the marketplace. I know that was a high-level overview of what we're trying to do, and I didn't dive deep on the platform, which I can't do right now, but please feel free to connect with me or email me, and I think appreciate everyone's time, appreciate everyone listening, and I'm glad to answer as many questions as I can.
All right, thanks, Michael. It was a